Last Christmas, my girlfriend got me this bucket list poster of 100 movies to watch. It's pretty cool, got some good stuff on here, but the problem is, I've seen like 90% of the movies because I watch way too many movies.
Not to worry.
She came out with a genius solution. I am to rewatch all the movies before I can check them off the list. So let's do a little. That means I have to watch 8.3 movies a month, or just under 2 a week.
Now that's f***ing dope, huh?
I only watched 8 movies from the bucket list this month, as I've been working on a new Best Director video that'll be out in a few weeks. Try and guess who this director is in the comments, and if you get it right, maybe I'll let you recommend a Best Director video, or maybe recommend a movie I could show Richard for an ex-cultist watches video. I don't know, just an idea. I've also been spending all my time with my new record player, and wasting all my money on that. Look at this dope Whiplash vinyl I got. Pretty sick. Anyway, without further ado, let's get on with the list.
Rain down on us, whole life selling drugs, wash us in the blood, wash us in your blood.
Ah, what a classic movie. I can't believe it took me so long to rewatch this movie for the list. 12 Angry Men is one of my favorite movies of all time. The 1957 film is about 12 jurors who have to decide over a murder trial. 11 of the men are willing to find the defendant guilty straight away, and the movie is about the one man trying to convince the rest of the jurors to see the case from the other point of view. This movie is heavily dialogue focused, as almost the entire film takes place in one room, with 12 men talking around a large table, and yet it is such a gripping film. What I love is how almost all of the jurors have interesting characteristics, with quirks and traits that make their characters distinct and interesting. Compared to an ensemble film like Suicide Squad, where the narrative focuses on 1 or 2 characters and really forgets to flesh out the rest of the cast. Wait, why am I comparing 12 Angry Men to Suicide Squad? Never mind. This film is one of my favorite moments in all of cinema history, with a switchblade scene. It is so thrilling and gripping and such a great part of cinema history, and the switchblade is even on the poster of the bucket list. Neat. I implore you to watch this film, such a masterpiece. 5 stars. In the infamous words of Justin Marshall, me oh my, I have enjoyed this, yes boy.
Me oh my, I have enjoyed that, yes boy.
Rain down on us, whole life selling drugs, wash us in the blood, wash us in your blood.
I finally got around to watching this movie. When Moonlight won Best Picture over La La Land, I was like, shit, if this movie is really better than La La Land, it'll probably be my favorite movie ever. And then I just kept putting it off. So thankfully the bucket list got me to watch this movie. Moonlight is a film about a black kid going through his life in 3 chapters at different times during his life, as he learns that he is gay and struggles with the discrimination and other struggles to understand who he really is. A very enjoyable film. The director Barry Jenkins said he wanted to make a movie about black gay people, as he claims that being gay in cinema has been whitewashed, indicating that black gay people have their own struggles. It is a very interesting perspective, and seems to be kinda true, as all the gay characters in cinema that I can think of are all white people. Interesting. The problems the main character faces are not just related to their sexuality, but to their underprivileged economic situation and drug problems, which adds another level of struggle to the character. Ultimately, I did quite enjoy this film, especially for the anthology type feel to the film, reminding me of films such as Pulp Fiction. I didn't enjoy it as much as I enjoyed La La Land though. Obviously the only comparison is the fiasco at the Oscars, as these movies are going for a very different thing.
Guys, I'm sorry. No, there's a mistake. Moonlight, you guys won Best Picture.
Moonlight won. Come on, this is not a joke. This is not a joke. I'm afraid they read the wrong thing.
This is not a joke. Moonlight has won Best Picture. Moonlight, Best Picture.
Some of the child acting wasn't that amazing either, which is a shame as it fills up a lot of the film. I also didn't like Naomi Harrison's performance. Not very convincing and was kind of annoying. I've given it 3.5 stars. La La Land should have won.
The Academy Award for Best Picture.
La La Land.
Rain down on us, whole life selling drugs, wash us in the blood, wash us in your blood.
Gangs of New York is a Martin Scorsese film about gang violence in early America, shining a spotlight on early xenophobia in the USA against foreigners and the corruption of early politicians. Scorsese is a king of films about organized violence, making films like Goodfellas, The Departed, and The Irishman, and Gangs of New York is a nice addition to that crime filmography. The sets were so well detailed and realistic, making me so appreciative of the hard work that went into creating 1800s New York. Daniel Day-Lewis gave his usual exceptional performance, playing the antagonist so intimidating and ferocious. Leonardo DiCaprio wasn't that good in this film though. Leo is a great actor, and I don't know, he just wasn't that great in this movie. Neither was Cameron Diaz, who I guess has only really been good in Being John Malkovich, and I guess Shrek. I did really enjoy the comparisons between gang violence and the violence being carried out during the Civil War that was happening at the time. It had a very interesting juxtaposition, and it was a good critique on government and war. I'll give it 3.5 stars. I like this film, but it's so weird that it's on this bucket list. There are 2 Martin Scorsese films on this list. This and The Departed. Goodfellas, Taxi Driver, The Wolf of Wall Street are all better films by Martin Scorsese. Any of these would have been better candidates for the bucket list. The selection of this list is so strange and annoying. It's just so weird that you would put 2 Scorsese films on this list, when there are so many other Scorsese films that would be a better selection than those ones. It's like wanting to put a Guillermo del Toro film on there, but putting The Shape of Water on there instead of Pan's Labyrinth, which most people would agree is del Toro's best film. I guess there are a lot of problems with the selection of films on this bucket list. I have to talk about it later in a video after I reviewed all the movies on this list.
Rain down on us, whole life selling drugs, wash us in the blood, wash us in your blood.
Hidden Bruges is an interesting small-scale crime film about a man trying to come to grips with accidentally killing a child. All the while, his crime boss is trying to have him assassinated for it. This was directed by Martin McDonough, the guy who made 3 Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri. I was looking forward to seeing this movie after I loved 3 Billboards so much, which probably should have won Best Picture instead of The Shape of Water that year. Well, actually, Blade Runner 2049 probably should have won Best Picture that year, but it wasn't even nominated. Ridiculous. Anyway, back to In Bruges. What I didn't expect is this movie to be as funny as it was. It was hilarious. A good sense of British comedy that was really enjoyable. The dark humor with the British accents really reminded me of a Guy Ritchie film, like Snatch or The Gentleman. I like this a lot more than I like Snatch though. I still need to rewatch it. The performances were great, most notably Brendan Gleeson's role. He is such a great actor that just pops up in random roles. Someone that is just a joy to see. He is actually also in Gangs of New York as well. The one negative I have about this movie is the ending. I won't spoil it, but there was an incident near the end of the film with a little person that I thought was so laughably stupid, that I felt the ending was so lackluster that it let the entire film down. Very disappointing. I did really enjoy it, and I can definitely see myself seeing it again, even with the shit ending. 3.5 stars. 3 Billboards is definitely a better film, by the way. Near on perfect.
Rain down on us, whole life selling drugs, wash us in the blood, wash us in your blood.
Now here is a modern masterpiece. Her is a great film about a man who falls in love with his artificial intelligence operating system. I guess it's easy to do when your AI is Scarlett Johansson. This is written and directed by Spike Jonze, the director of so many great films like Adaptation and Being John Malkovich. 2 movies that are missing from this bucket list, to be honest. Those movies were written by Charlie Kaufman, probably the best screenwriter in the business. So it's good to see that Spike Jonze has what it takes to write his own films, not just being a mouthpiece for Kaufman. The performances are so good as well, probably Joaquin Phoenix's best role. What? What about the Joker?
Did I stutter?
Johansson was great as well, even though she was just in disembodied voice. And such an interesting concept pulled off so well. Reminds me of a plotline that could be in a Black Mirror episode, an interesting life meets technology situation that could be affecting us soon, if not already. I'll give it 4.5 stars. I used to have it at 5 stars, but there's this scene that really reminds me of a scene from Blade Runner 2049. Blade Runner 2049 came out after this movie, but it was pulled off so much better that I feel underwhelmed when I watch that scene in Her. Maybe it's a bit unfair on Her, as it is such a good movie, but that's just how it is. Adaptation and Being John Malkovich are better Spike Jonze movies in my opinion, by the way. Maybe I should make a best director video on him in the future. He's pretty great. Charlie Kaufman is also great. Even though he had nothing to do with this movie, you really need to check out his stuff.
Rain down on us, whole life selling drugs, wash us in the blood, wash us in your blood.
Yet another Steven Spielberg movie. I know he's a great director, but this list really has a hard-on for his movies. Jaws is a classic thriller film about a small-town sheriff who has to try to find a way to stop a giant killer shark from terrorizing the beach community. The movie is a classic for a reason. It is very exhilarating and exciting, having me at the edge of my seat even though I've seen it a million times before. There are so many great Spielberg directing tropes in this film, like the dolly zooms and the John Williams score, make me long for the days of classic Spielberg. His modern career has been pretty abysmal. I liked Bridge of Spies and the Tintin movie, and Warhorse was alright, but other than that, he makes fucking garbage. Anyway, back to Jaws. You know this movie, I don't need to tell you about this movie. What are you even doing with your life if you haven't even seen it? It's required viewing, even if it's not a perfect movie. I've given it 4 stars, like I like it, but you know, it's not his best.
Rain down on us, whole life selling drugs, wash us in the blood, wash us in your blood.
Fuck, I love Drive. I don't think I'm breaking any new ground here saying that Drive is a great movie. Every film snob nowadays says Drive is a modern masterpiece. Drive is basically the new Pulp Fiction. But are they even wrong? Drive is an interesting, slow-paced movie about Ryan Gosling's character, known only as Driver, who is a stunt driver who gets mixed up in a shady robbery, all to help out the husband of the girl he likes. Wait, is Driver a mega cuck? Never mind. Ryan Gosling gives one of my favorite performances of his in this movie, being so quiet and reserved, but at other times being so aggressive and intimidating. Driver is such an interesting character. All of the other performances are superb as well. Bryan Cranston absolutely crushing it as per usual. He had this cool limp that he walked around with, creating such a cool feature for his character. Oscar Isaac was also very enjoyable in this film. I'm starting to really like Oscar Isaac more and more, as he's been doing some really good work as of late in Alex Garland films. Maybe I need to talk about these another day. And the score is amazing. Nightcrawl, which is the opening song to the film, is absolutely incredible. I listen to it all the time. I really don't know what else to say about this movie. Every aspect of the film is executed perfectly. What I appreciate is that during the driving scenes, the camera is primarily in the car, opposed to showing us the stunts from a bird's eye view or from outside the car. It helps the audience get into the head of the characters and makes us feel like we're actually in the car as well. It is kind of similar to Damien Chazelle's First Man, where the filming was primarily done from inside the space shuttles, making the audience feel what the astronauts were feeling. Another film starring Ryan Gosling. I absolutely adored this film, even have a framed poster of it on my wall. 5 stars. I cannot recommend this film enough.
Rain down on us, whole life selling drugs. Wash us in the blood, wash us in your blood.
This is a Stanley Kubrick film that I hadn't seen before, which is crazy as it's such a classic. I've studied the book in high school though, so I did know what I was getting into. A Clockwork Orange is a film about a near-future society with rampant extreme violence created by the youth. The story follows Alex, a delinquent who rapes, murders, and is generally an asshole. When Alex is arrested by the police, he is treated with the Ludovico technique, a technique that makes him sick whenever he wants to commit an act of violence. It creates an interesting moral conundrum, where we are unsure whether we should be supporting such a terrible character as Alex, where we begin to sympathize with his plights, and it makes us question whether the Ludovico technique is moral. Posing the question, is it worth being good and moral if you don't have the ability to make the choices for yourself? Not only is the moral quandary interesting, but the film is shot so beautifully, as it has so many Kubrickiisms, with a lot of symmetry and interesting shots that are so pleasing to the eye. The movie really pushes the envelope on what can be shown in film, as it is full of grotesque violence, nudity, and just full-on rape. It may not be extremely confronting to cinema if it was released today, but remember, this came out in 1971. People just weren't really ready for this film, I don't think. The dialogue is also very interesting, with the Nasdat language that was used. Nasdat is a fake language that was created by the original author, Anthony Burgess. The film is set in the future, where people had developed a new form of slang and terminology, which is why the film contains so much seemingly gibberish, but it is used so geniusly that you pick up on what they're actually talking about, even though they're not even speaking English. It can kind of be compared to Shakespeare's plays in how he just makes up terms and words. I love this film, and I gave it a 4.5 stars. I think the themes got a bit muddled near the end of the film, as it becomes more political and less about the moral questions, something that I think Kubrick added to the film, and wasn't actually in the original book. Maybe on a future watch, I could really appreciate it more and bring it up to 5 stars. We'll see. Cheers for watching. Check out my letterbox where I have a list where I've ranked all the films that I've talked about on this bucket list. I'll have that Best Director video out shortly, and I also have a few other videos in the works as well, so if you want to check those out when I release them, subscribe.